Ever wish you could kind of peek into the future of AI? Well, that's what today's deep dive feels like. We're digging into self-taught evaluators, AI, that can actually judge its own work.
And the really wild part is it might even be better at it than we are, which is kind of huge when you think about how important evaluation is for AI, especially those powerful LLMs everyone's talking about.
All right, the LLMs, those are the brains behind all those chatbots and AI writing tools. Yeah.
Exactly. But imagine trying to keep up with all the stuff those AIs are churning out. It'd be like, I don't know, trying to drink from a fire hose. Way too much for humans to handle effectively.
And not exactly unbiased either, right? Like, what you think is a brilliant AI-written poem I might find? Kinda. So is that where these self-taught evaluators come in? This research paper makes it sound like a pretty big deal.
It's definitely a new approach. Instead of relying on us to tell it what's good, this system basically creates its own training ground. It's like, how do I explain this?
Hmm.
It's like if an AI could grade its own homework and get better every time.
Okay, now that's an image. I'm definitely hooked. So how does this whole self-grading thing actually work?
So it starts by figuring out the toughest challenges, kind of like picking out the trickiest exam questions. Then, for every single one of those challenges, it comes up with two answers. One that's meant to be top-notch, and another that's, well, not so much.
So it's basically creating its own tests. Pretty clever. But then how does it learn to tell the good from the bad?
That's where the really cool stuff happens. The AI actually compares those two answers, and it doesn't just say this one's better. It breaks down why it made that judgment, almost like an apprentice learning from a master craftsman.
I see, I see. So it's constantly refining its taste, so to speak. Like practicing an instrument, you get better the more you do it.
Exactly, and all that practice, all that evaluating and self-correcting, it really sharpens the AI's judgment.
And it does all that without us humans interfering. So, what kind of results are we talking about here? Is this self-grading thing actually making AI smarter?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
The researchers tested it out on this thing called reward bench, basically a benchmark for how well AI is doing. And the results, let's just say they blew the old scores out of the water. Jumped from 75.4 to 88.7, and get this, all without any human feedback.
Whoa, 75.4 to 88.7. That's a whole different league. This really feels like it could change how we do AI from now on.
It's definitely got that potential, that kind of accuracy, especially that quickly. It could mean AI being able to handle things we haven't even imagined yet.
No, that's what I find so fascinating, but this is just scratching the surface, right? There's going to be more to the story.
Oh, absolutely. This goes way beyond just better scores. We're talking about potentially changing what AI is even capable of.
So we're not just talking about like a slight upgrade here, are we? This feels bigger. Like what could this kind of AI evaluation actually mean for, the real world?
It's pretty exciting to think about. Imagine AI assistants that don't just get what you're saying, but they can answer you in a way that's, actually nuanced, really accurate, like way better than what we're used to.
Or what about AI writing tools that could write like really engaging stuff that's actually accurate too, even about super complicated topics?
Right. And it could do it consistently every single time.
It's like we could be talking about AI that helps us solve like scientific mysteries or comes up with life-saving tech way faster than we ever thought possible.
Exactly. And what's so powerful about this whole self-taught evaluator thing is that it takes away this big roadblock we've had in AI development. We've always had to rely on humans to give feedback, but this changes that. It's like AI can suddenly learn so much faster on its own.
It makes you wonder where it could go if it's just free to learn like that. It's kind of mind-blowing, but also a little, I don't know, maybe a little scary.
It definitely raises some interesting questions. Like with any powerful technology, you got to think about the implications. And one thing the researchers pointed out was the amount of computing power you need to train these AI models.
So even with the AI creating its own data, it's still going to cost a lot and probably have environmental impacts too.
Oh, for sure. Training these models takes a ton of energy. So while we're going after these huge advancements, we've got to figure out how to make it sustainable too. Can't ignore that.
It reminds you that even with all this futuristic tech, we're still bound by the real world, right? It's all about finding that balance.
Absolutely. Always a balancing act. And while this research is super cool and it gives us a peek into the future of AI, we got to be real, it's still early days.
So this isn't like the AI revolution starting right now. Not quite.
Not just yet. We still have a lot to learn. But that's part of what makes it so interesting,
Yeah.
It feels like we're discovering something totally new, pushing the limits of what we thought AI could do. Yeah.
And that's what I think makes these deep dives so interesting. It's like we're exploring uncharted territory. But we've talked a lot about the how and what of this research, but I'm curious about the why. What is it about this paper that really got you interested?
For me, it's the idea that AI could be more than just a tool. What if it could actually be a collaborator, like a
Mhm.
partner in pushing the boundaries of what we know and what we can create?
A collaborator, huh? That's interesting. I think a lot of people, when they hear AI, they think of it like, a fancy calculator or something, a tool, not a partner. But you're talking about something way different.
Yeah, it's a different way of thinking about it. And this research kind of hints at how we could get there. Like the researchers looked at how the self-taught evaluation could be used in other areas, like creative writing or even coding. Some pretty complex stuff.
Wait, so instead of just saying if something is good or bad, the AI could use that feedback to get better at doing those things, like actually become a better writer, a better coder. That's kind of wild.
It is pretty mind-blowing. Imagine AI that doesn't just write a story, but it can actually critique it too, like find plot holes, suggest different endings, all because it understands how stories work on a deep level.
So we've gone from AI grading its own homework to AI writing the next bestseller. It's amazing to think how much this could change things.
Yeah, the potential is huge. But, and this is important, this research is still just getting started. So as cool as it is, there's still a lot of questions, a lot of challenges to figure out as we go.
It's like we're getting a sneak peek at this amazing future, but we don't know all the details yet, which I gotta say is pretty exciting.
Definitely. And that excitement, that curiosity, that's what drives all this, right? It
Yeah.
makes you want to keep digging, keep exploring what AI can do and how it might change the world.
And that's what these deep dives are all about. Taking a look at the future, even if it's just a glimpse. And I don't know about you, but I always walk away with more questions than answers, which is a good thing. It means we're asking the right questions. Well, as always, it's been great exploring this with you. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.